At her family dinner, my girlfriend said, "Ryan does more for me than you ever could." Weeks later, I let her expose herself in front of everyone and walked away for good. I am 34, and I can tell you exactly when I realized my relationship with Claire was no longer going anywhere. It wasn't during some big fight or a late-night confession. It happened on an ordinary Sunday at her parents' house in Ohio. We were sitting around a dinner table that smelled of roast beef, garlic bread, and her mom's famous green bean casserole. Her whole family was there that evening. Her mom and dad sat at the head of the table, her 2 sisters sat across from me, and even her cousin who had flown in from Texas was there. The room felt warm and comfortable, the kind of gathering I had grown to enjoy over time. I was passing a bowl of mashed potatoes across the table when I first heard my name mentioned. Claire was laughing at something one of her sisters said. Then she leaned back in her chair, holding a glass of wine, and casually added, "Honestly, if it weren't for Ryan, I don't know how I'd survive. He does so much for me. He even fixed my car last month when Mark couldn't figure it out." The words hit me harder than they should have. But what really stuck with me wasn't just the words. It was the reaction around the table. Everyone chuckled lightly, as if it was just another harmless comment. Her dad shook his head with a grin. Her cousin raised an eyebrow with amusement, and her sisters leaned in closer with interest. To them, it was a joke. To me, it felt like my efforts had been brushed aside and tossed away like they meant nothing. I sat there quietly, chewing my food, trying to keep my expression neutral. I have never been the kind of man who needs praise or applause for every little thing I do. I cook, I clean, I pay my share of the bills, I fix things when they break. I do all that not because I want credit, but because that's what being in a relationship means. Yet hearing her say those words, comparing me to this other man in front of everyone, cut deeper than I expected. I forced a smile and tried to focus on my plate, but inside, my thoughts were racing. Who was Ryan really to her? Why did she feel comfortable enough to bring his name up in front of her entire family like that? I had heard about him before. He was an old friend, someone she met back in college, someone who always seemed to be around whenever she needed help. But until that night, I never truly considered him a threat. When the dinner ended and we were driving back to my apartment, the silence between us felt heavy. I kept my hands on the wheel, my eyes fixed on the road, while she scrolled casually through her phone. I wanted to ask her what she meant, to demand an explanation, but something in me stopped. Maybe I wanted to hear it from her without forcing the question. Maybe I wanted to see if she would offer the truth on her own. She never did. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing little things that had slipped past me before. Late-night texts that she quickly hid when I walked into the room. Sudden plans with friends that didn't include me. The way she smiled at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. It all began adding up, and though I didn't have hard proof, my gut told me that Ryan was at the center of it. Still, I stayed quiet. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted to see how far she would go. I wanted her to show me who she truly was without me having to accuse her first. And sure enough, she did. One Friday evening, Claire invited me over to her parents' house again for another family dinner. I agreed, though part of me already knew something was about to happen. The air felt different that night. The conversations were louder, the wine glasses fuller, and everyone seemed to be in a particularly good mood. I sat there listening, watching Claire move around the table, laughing and chatting like she had no care in the world. Then it happened. Her sister made a joke about how Claire was lucky to have so many men willing to help her out. Instead of brushing it off or defending me, Claire smirked and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Well, let's be honest. Ryan does more for me than Mark ever could. He just gets me in ways that Mark doesn't." The room fell silent for a split second before nervous laughter filled the air. Her dad cleared his throat. Her mom looked down at her plate, and her cousin let out an awkward chuckle. Everyone seemed unsure how to react, but Claire looked pleased with herself. As for me, that was the final nail in the coffin. I didn't explode. I didn't yell or create a scene. Instead, I placed my fork down gently, took a slow sip of water, and looked around the table. The weight of the moment hung in the air, and I knew right then that she had exposed herself far better than I ever could have. When the dinner ended, Claire tried to act like nothing happened. She drove us back to my place, humming along to the radio, completely oblivious to the storm building inside me. As soon as we walked in, I sat her down and told her calmly, "You don't need to choose between Ryan and me. You already did tonight." Her smile faded instantly. She tried to argue, to twist the words around, to say she was just joking. But I had heard enough. A joke doesn't come out like that unless there's truth behind it. And the fact that she said it in front of her entire family made it clear that she had no respect left for me or for what we shared. That night, I packed my things and walked out. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just left with my dignity intact, knowing that I deserved far more than to be someone's backup while they praised another man in front of everyone. Weeks passed, and the texts started coming in. First angry, then apologetic, then desperate. She claimed she missed me, that Ryan was just a friend, that she didn't mean what she said. But by then I was done. I had watched her reveal her true colors with my own eyes, and there was no going back. Walking away wasn't easy. I had invested time, love, and effort into that relationship. But in the end, it was the best decision I ever made. Because sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you exactly who they are, even if it breaks your heart in the process. And Claire? She gave me that gift at her parents' dinner table. I didn't say anything that night at her family's dinner table. I let Claire sip her wine and laugh. I let her family whisper and smile. And I kept every word that sat on the tip of my tongue locked behind my teeth. I knew arguing or demanding an explanation in that moment would only make me look small. Instead, I sat back, ate quietly, and let the comments sink in, letting it burn into my memory as a reminder. Over the next few weeks, I watched Claire closely. I noticed how often she brought up Ryan's name. He was always doing something for her. Driving her somewhere, helping with work, giving advice on her problems that apparently I wasn't smart enough to solve. At first, I told myself it was harmless, just a friend helping out. But slowly, piece by piece, the picture became clear. She was leaning on him for everything she should have leaned on me for. The truth wasn't just that she compared us. It was that she already believed he was better than me. And once that thought crossed my mind, I realized there was no coming back from it. So I waited. I waited for her to show her true colors, not just to me, but to everyone who had sat at that dinner table and laughed that night. I didn't argue with her. I didn't beg for her attention. I just stepped back and let her dig the hole herself. The day came soon enough. Her cousin from Texas threw a small gathering while he was back in town. Claire insisted I come with her. I smiled, nodded, and went along quietly. That night, surrounded by the same faces who had sat at her parents' table weeks before, Claire once again opened her mouth and let the truth spill out. She laughed loudly, drink in hand, and said, "Honestly, Ryan knows me better than anyone, even better than Mark." The room went silent for a second. Her father's smile dropped. Her cousin looked uncomfortable. Her sisters glanced at each other with raised eyebrows. Claire didn't notice. She just kept talking, praising Ryan, making it clear to everyone in that room that she had already chosen who she valued more. That was the moment I knew I didn't need to say a word. She had done the work for me. She had exposed herself. I put my glass down, looked around the room, and simply said, "Thank you for making everything clear tonight." I turned to Claire, met her eyes for just a second, and added, "I hope Ryan can give you the life you think I couldn't." Then I walked out the door. No yelling, no drama, just silence and finality. The very next morning, I packed up my things from her apartment. I left the key on the kitchen counter and sent her a single text, "It's over. Take care." That was the last time I ever reached out to her. Weeks later, mutual friends told me Ryan had no interest in being with her. He had a girlfriend of his own. He was just being helpful. Claire, on the other hand, had to face her family knowing she had publicly compared me to another man and pushed me away with her own words. And as for me, I felt lighter than I had in years. I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming or arguing. It's letting someone show everyone exactly who they are, and then walking away without looking back. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you either have or you don't. And once someone shows you they don't respect you, the most powerful thing you can do is leave them behind. And that's exactly what I did.